Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers Transfer Agenda Show with a sparkly new intro there, all the way from the main man called Torley. A lot of complaints about the last one. I hope he's like the new one. And I'm your host, Keith Plunkett, and I'm joined tonight by Seany Lawson. Seany, how are you?
Keith, I'm at the main shuffling the gaff down there to that intro. That was fucking great, isn't it?
Great
All good, mate. I'm all good.
How did you guys get to hear it? I couldn't hear it. It was how do you hear it? I'm way behind technology.
Can you hear us?
You guys know
Grizz?
this. No, I can hear you guys fine.
Grizz, it'll be on Spotify in the morning, don't worry.
Yeah, that's it. It'll be all the kids will be singing it. Your kids will be coming in asking you to Shazam this tomorrow. And obviously we are joined by Grizz. Grizz, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good, man. A bit sicky and warm, but
yeah.
Look,
right. It's the same everywhere, I think, isn't it? Poxy weather, but sure, what can you do?
Right.
So, as everyone's aware, this is our Transfer Agenda show where we talk about transfers. It's not Liverpool specific. It's just any transfers that are happening across the football world. Although if there is Liverpool news, it will be Liverpool heavy. And I suppose we can start off, lads, with the news that sort of broke earlier on today that Liverpool had lodged a bid of £10 million for Jamal Lewis. Grizz, I'll come to you first on this. What did you make? Were you shocked by the bid and the subsequent fallout of the bid?
No, and no. The simple answers. Nah. When the club have sort of made it so obvious in public that this transfer, this name, and if you notice, all the journalists got briefed at the same time to go and put it out there. It's usually a very positive sign. The only time I think it's backfired, well, apart from the VVD debacle, was the Fekir one, which was 1 in a million chance of like sort of him failing the second medical. But it's usually a very positive sign. It's usually a sign that we've discussed this with Jamal and his agent, and it's just a matter of appeasing Norwich, which at the moment they're lowballing, which is they've got every right to. We do the same for our players, as we'll go on to. But I think it's just a matter of a couple of million extra. And then the promise of add-ons, and Jamal Lewis will be a Liverpool player, I think.
Yeah, I'd imagine that, Seany. What are you thinking? Do you think they'll go much higher than the bid they've supposedly put in, or how do you feel it's going to play out?
No, I don't think he's worth much more than that, to be honest. Now, in fairness, 10 million is derisory. And just before we came on there, I seen that Norwich aren't happy with the bid. They've made it public that they thought it was derisory. So, I don't know. It seemed to think like I don't think Liverpool are outbidding anyone in this market. If anyone else goes in for the player, I think they'll get them, and it's nothing got to do with Paul or anything like that. I just don't see us getting dragged into these games this year. We have plenty of other targets. Like that lad was playing tonight for Olympiacos, so I don't think Liverpool are going to be bullied into handing over £20 million for a backup left back. Let's be honest. It's just not. It's not a makeup. It's not an FSG's makeup, and I just can't. We either meet Norwich halfway, or else we'll go and look at that Greek lad who was playing for Olympiacos. Look, FSG, like Timo, Julian Brandt was first choice ahead of Mo Salah. We went for Mo Salah. Mario Götze was first choice ahead of Sadio Mane. We ended up getting Mane. We know from history that Edwards and Cole will just move on if Norwich aren't playing ball.
Yeah.
Sorry, Keith. I just wanted to add. Norwich are in no position to keep 3 left backs at the club. They're being silly. They've already bought a replacement. The lad we were interested in from Coventry. The name slips my mind. I don't know if you used to know the name.
No.
Someone in the chat.
I know they signed some lad who was part of Jamie Vardy's academy, and he got a move to Coventry.
That's the one.
I think it's McCallum or something.
Callum something.
Yeah.
That's the one, yeah.
So
he's very highly rated. Yeah, he's highly rated, so they'll probably go with him next year.
So they've already got him, and they've also got who was originally the first choice left back, Sam Byram as well. So they've got, if they want to keep 3 highly regarded left backs in the Championship, fair play to them. Who's going to argue? But there's no way. It's just a bit of. They've got a very good lad in charge. The sporting director is very good, but he's no Michael Edwards. As Shawnee says, there's no competition. We're targeting players. It seems to be targeting players. We may get onto it. We may not get into it. We're targeting players that there's not much competition for, and we've established they want us and we want them. So it's just a matter of $1 million or 2 here. But you asked Sean the question: would we go much higher? I don't think we will. And the reason for that is because I know we've made inquiries for other left backs and good ones. Because I don't know if you guys watched this. Can't pronounce his name. The guy for Olympiacos, he was class. He's class on the ball. He's good defensively. He's a speed merchant.
And he dealt with Traore tonight.
He looked with him. Absolutely.
He looked more at home against Traore tonight. So look, obviously, the thing is, we're looking for a backup left back and not someone to come in and start. So there's not actually huge pressure on us to rush.
Jamal Lewis knows the situation he's facing in terms of coming to Liverpool. He knows he's 4 years younger than Robbo. Time's on his side. Patience. He's going to be working under the best coach in the world, the best club in the world. He's desperate for this move. I just tweeted on just now saying he'll be on the phone to his agent after seeing that lad play for Olympiacos. He will want this wrapped up ASAP, and our second bid will be accepted. I'm guessing 12 million plus a few add-ons and a sell-on fee, and Bob's your uncle.
David Fitzgibbon throws into the chat there that Norwich have no obligation to sell. I'm assuming that is they've been prepared financially to handle relegation. 10 million was taking the piss. In some ways, yeah, I can see the point. I mean, their sporting director came out and said their players won't be going for less than 20 million. But that's just puffing your chest out, I think, and trying to make a statement. I mean, they can be prepared for relegation all they want, but they weren't prepared for COVID-19 and the implications of that. So there's, for a team like Norwich they can be very well run and very savvy, but the COVID hits everybody. And if they have to balance books, look, they've other players they can sell and they can bring in and they think they can hold out. But Liverpool, as Shawnee has said and Grizz has said, we're not looking for a left back here. We're looking for a replacement left back to give Robbo a rest. And they can say 20 million all they want. I don't think they're going to get anywhere near 20 million. And there will be other players to look at, as we've touched on. Tsimikas off Olympiacos is getting great reviews from his game tonight. And the figures that was mentioned for him? I think it was around 7 or 8 or something was what we were talking.
I think I read that they want 15 million euros for him. But the thing is with Liverpool, Liverpool, the club clearly briefed all of the usual suspects with this whole Lewis thing, and I think in the heart of hearts, Liverpool knew 10 million was never going to be accepted. I think what they're doing now is they're trying to put the pressure on the player and his agent to make a bit of noise, so that the move does happen at a fee lower than what Norwich expect. And I read today that Jamal Lewis is looked after by the same fella that looks after Trent. So
correct.
And the director of football at Norwich is one of Michael Edwards' disciples, so to speak. So, to be honest with you, I think with all the noise being made, I think this is just a bit of posturing from Norwich. I think it'll happen. Like Grizz said, they're not going to keep 3 left backs at the club in the Championship. I know, although that lad made a brilliant point. Look, Norwich were ahead of the schedule going up to the Premier League last year, and they're still in line to get to where they want to be in time. But I think it will happen. I just don't think we're going to be paying £20 million for a backup left back. Not a chance. No,
I don't think there's any way. I think they will, like I said, they look to other options. I know, Grizz, you've mentioned some of the players that we were supposedly looking at left back positions. In your opinion, we've spoke about Jamal Lewis. Tsimikas was another one. There was a lad off Leeds you were talking about before. Was it Leif Davis?
Leif Davis, and there was a guy from Vitesse Arnhem.
Max Clark. Yeah, Max Clark. And then there was the
So
young Argentinian lad you mentioned as well.
yeah, so
Benarbi.
all these names. The funny thing is, the obvious thing is, or the weird thing is, however you look at it, all these names I was given in the same week, and a week later, we've gone for Jamal Lewis and the Greek lad. People like Mel Reddy and James Pearce have just thrown this name just out there.
Yeah.
So just to get things going, so we've gone for Jamal Lewis, is obvious, because he's the only one we've actually put a bid in for. But then we've just thrown a name out there saying, look, or alternatives will be looked at. And that's the exact information I got. Look, we're not going to pay more than 12 million max, 12 million.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to go on. And we will. I think we will, but I don't think we'll need to. I think
and that's the point I'm trying to get to, Shawnee, is what Grizz is saying there. You know, we're not going to pay over the odds, and all the players we're being linked with, and we'll come on to centre backs in the world as well. They're all in around the same sort of price that we're being linked to. You know, we're in the enviable position where we're not looking to strengthen our first team, our first 11. We're just supplementing a squad, so we don't have to go mad on signings.
Exactly, like I said, there's no pressure to get this done. Like, as of yet, the transfer window is going to run on until I think it's the first week of October. So we're not under any big pressure here to get this deal over the line, because I don't think this club's queuing up to take Lewis off Norwich's hands either. And that's not a slight on him. I don't think that's not a slight on him as a player. I think he's a really good player, but obviously he's a young lad now who smells the opportunity to be involved in a setup like Liverpool. Like, he's not going to turn it down. And to be honest with you, I don't see Norwich getting in his way. To be honest, I think it will be sorted out. I think he'll be our first signing.
Yeah, I think they've played their hand, haven't they, by bringing in the other left back. I think, as he's about said, they've sort of not shot themselves in the foot, but they've weakened their position a bit. Now that they're carrying 3 left fulls, it's pretty obvious that they're willing to move on. Jamal Lewis, and whether they get the bidding war they want, I can't see it happening myself. But so I suppose it's to watch this space. As we said, the reporters, the usual suspects, have all started releasing it, so they obviously got briefed on it. And as Grizz said, the backup name started to drip out and that. And another name I want to move off from the left back that's getting mentioned now, Paul Joyce was mentioning about an interest, is Ismaïla Sarr of Watford. It looks like, again, there's been sort of radio silence over the last few weeks, and now we're starting to hear names coming out from the press pack. Sean, he'll come to you. Do you think there's anything in the Sarr rumours? Is he a player that you can see Liverpool going for? Is he a player you would like to see them going for?
Definitely, I reckon there's definitely something in it, because look at the profile. He's relegated, he's young, he's mouldable, he's Mane's little brother, so to speak, and he's kind of exactly what we're looking for at the moment. Cover for the wide lads, and he can play off left or right. And he terrorised us in both games this year, both at Anfield and at their place. Yeah. So I'd imagine Sarr is definitely one that, like they said, Paul Joyce says we're monitoring. So we're obviously looking at the situation there with Sarr, and I'd imagine if he's up for grabs, we will be in the hat. But it's just becoming more and more apparent to me that this whole summer is going to hinge on always getting players out, because if you look at the overlay, I'm not going to use the term net spend, because I think it's a bit wanky, to be honest. If you look at the overlay nearly every season under FSG, it's never massive. We've never spent way more than has gone out. So I think it will depend on the likes of Origi going, Cherki going, Wilson going, of going in for the likes of Sarr. I don't know what his asking price is. I don't know what Watford are looking for, but they're another side in a position where, look, he's not going to play in the Championship. He's too good to play in the Championship. I'd imagine that there will be a few suitors for him. But yeah, I'd love to see him brought in. But the caveat of all of that is that, yeah, potentially signing another fella who's going to be after the AFCON when it eventually does come around. So it's something that we'd have to be wary of. But yeah, Sarr would be someone who I'd like to see come in and back up the front three.
Yeah, excellent stuff. And Grizz, what about yourself? Have you heard anything about fees or anything, or likely fees for what Sarr? Where are we looking? Are we looking 20 mil? What's the...
No, I haven't heard nothing on Sarr. but Mr. Paul Joyce has said it, so there must be some truth to it.
Yeah.
And as Shawnee says, he fits the profile. Absolutely fits the profile. If you're asking, would I go for him? I personally wouldn't. I know I'm probably in the minority. You know, most of everyone's like, oh my God, Sarr's the perfect replacement, and etc. I get he's raw. I get he's young. I get he's we're looking a year, two down the line with him. I just don't think we should be buying players for 1-2 years later now. I think we're in it for the now. I think we need to get an attacker that's just under the level of the three that we got. I know it's very difficult to get the level of attacker that we've got, but we've got to aim slightly higher. If you asked me this a couple of years ago, I would have said, wow, this is a Liverpool signing, FSG signing, FSG's profile, everything.
I think we were linked with him before he even went to Watford. I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
They bought him for 30 million. So let's just say the minimum they'd want is 40. Especially, they bought him for 30 just a season ago. Now, I like to think our scouting is a bit more advanced than whoever gives us a terrible time. We look to go sign for him, all right? Because I get that he gave us a terrible time, and I get, Klopp and Cole do actually look for players' testimonies when they're looking at other players. So they do. So they would ask the likes of Virgil, who's giving you, we're looking at this kind of player. How was he to play against? And that's very crucial and important. I think it's undervalued at times to ask, your own players, if you trust them, who was a nightmare to play against. For me, it definitely makes sense in terms of FSG, price, age, profile. The African nation thing, yeah, but I don't think by the time the African nation comes, I don't think we'll have all our quota of African players. But Ismaïla Sarr, listen, if Edwards and Cole think he's good enough, then he must be. But just by my layman's point of view from watching him, I think we can aim higher. I'd call him very raw at the moment.
It's a hard one, really, to fit in a world star. And I know you're not saying a world star, Grizz. I'm not saying you're saying we get an elite player in there, but it's a hard position to fill, a backup striker. I think we spoke about this before on other shows. It's a pox of a position, because who's realistically going to be happy going in there knowing that they're probably not going to break into the team as much. Now, we spoke about Jamal Lewis signing for Liverpool, and the reality being him probably getting 10 games in next season if he's lucky, understudy to Robertson. But he could probably look at that and say, right, look at Danny Ings, you play there for a couple of years, you get a move, you're still young, it's only going to help you sort of train him with Liverpool, train him with Klopp, which is fair enough. The same could be said for the likes of a Sarr. He's very mouldable, he's still raw, but he's a player that, I think he's good because he's unpredictable. You can put him in, you can throw him in a number of positions in the front there, and he doesn't run in straight lines, and he doesn't stay still. He's a bit of a live wire. Shawnee Lawson's giving it a laugh there. Is that because your bro was thrown in comments, is it? Are we?
No, like fucking some of yous are mad in the chat, honest to God. Origi plus Wilson plus 50 million for Sancho. Jesus Christ. Let me know when you wake up, pal. For fuck's sake, yeah. This is mad. Like, people are going mad in the chat saying we're not splurging out money. Banging out big bleeding fees doesn't necessarily guarantee a success. Like, if the way it goes now is, if we had to turn around and said, oh, do you remember that lad who played for Salzburg who ripped us a new one in the 2 games? Minamino, yeah, well, we're signing him next week for 30 million. Everyone will be going bleeding. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Like, FSG have never done this any other way. Whatever comes in this summer is purely dependent on what goes out. Well,
Sarr is definitely one to keep an eye on in terms of it's not going to be sort of done in the early part. It's as I think Sean said, or you said, it's definitely going to be one that's, if we have the funds and then he's still available and we assess the situation, and Watford got to sell their stars as they have to. You got to remember, they've just sacked a manager. They're in the Championship. Decore and Sarr will be their assets and they will have to sell them. if they want to reinvest in the team. It's one to look at sort of later on after the likes of Wilson, because according to my source, we haven't had a single bid for the likes of Wilson, Grujic, Shaqiri. So we're going to wait for getting rid of these players first, see if what kind of funds we have, and then we're going to look at probably we're going to look at Sarr later on the window. But it wouldn't be for me.
Yeah, it does. We talk about, Grizz, you make a good point there. Teams, we want to sell these lads quick to see what we can do, but other teams aren't going to be rushed into buying either. Like Grujic at Hertha Berlin, he was doing brilliant for them, and then he'd come out of the team, and then the talk was, they're going to bid for him. Well, they're not going to rush and do us a favour and give us 20 odd million for Marco Grujic so we can sort our funds out. Harry Wilson, I think we're screwed on Harry Wilson, to be honest, unless we can offload him to a fill with money. But this summer, is there going to be, promoted teams at Fulham are filled, but they might have learned from last time they were in the Premier League. I just can't see who's going to pay money for the likes of Harry Wilson. And as someone pointed out in the chat earlier, and I can't remember who it was, if Harry Wilson isn't taking your set pieces, what is he doing? And he won't be taking them for us. So
we nearly, we so sad to see Bournemouth go down, because we would have robbed them again. They had a 23 million deal obligation to buy. If they stayed up, Wilson, that loan was going to be made permanent. I know that's another fact, but that's gone down the pan as well. So you're right. I can't see anyone spending 15, 20, well, you could see 15 million for Wilson, but we were looking at 23 million, 25 million. Do you know what I mean? So our valuations for our players will have to go down, but we'll come to that, I suppose.
Klopp said himself, patience is going to be required in this window.
Yeah.
This. We're normally done and dusted before the lads are back training, but I don't think that'll be the case this time. I think it is going to take time, because there will be scrambles around. I know people are saying post-COVID, but we're not really post-COVID. We're still sort of in the middle of this thing in terms of football. Yeah, so we don't actually know how long this is going to go on for, but there is going to be the picture will be much clearer by the time that the window closes, I reckon. So I'd say come the end of September, start of October, clubs will start to know, okay, what ballpark are we in? And then you'll see the bids coming in for these for the dead weights, so to speak.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Ernie White throws an interesting one in the chat. This is a player that I would be interested in hearing user opinions on, right? Memphis Depay, Leon in financial trouble, maybe Origi going the other way could make sense for both teams. The profile of Memphis is the type of player I think that would do brilliant for us, because he can play in the wide positions and he can play centrally. I don't know how, Leon in financial trouble, I don't know how realistic that is. They have a few other gems, and we're going to move on and talk about some of them later on. But is he a player that you would be interested in, Seany? Would it be someone that you could see, or is it even aiming too high for a Memphis Depay? I'd say it'd still be talking big bucks, wouldn't you, to Liverpool?
It's price dependent for me. I think Depay is a decent player, but to be honest, if I was taking anybody from Leon, it'd be Hassem Aouar to play in the midfield, because that's long game, and that would be more even in strategy with FSG, because although the Wijnaldum situation is unclear at the moment and there's still talk of Thiago, I think if you're snatching up Aouar now, who I heard is available for 50 million, that's a bargain, and that's doing your business before it needs to be done, and that would be addressing an issue with Genie that's likely to come around next summer, because look, if he hasn't signed by now, it looks like he won't. And people are throwing in a shout there about Depay. He is coming off the back of a bad ACL injury, so we have previous with Leon and dodgy knees, so it's not one that I could see happening, to be honest.
No, it's probably not a realistic one. The other side of that was the Origi going the other way. I know, Grizz, we've heard rumours of a bid coming in for Origi. Was that a genuine bid from Villa, or is it just?
Yeah, no, a bid in from Villa. Again, other clubs are going to try to lowball our players.
Yeah.
It is going to be the way. 17 million bid was refused today. But these are the kind of things, as Sean says, we're going to have to be patient with, assess the situation. Just like Norwich said, piss off. We said piss off. Just like Norwich won 20 million, we went in the region of 30 million. And it's to be seen if they want to come back with more. I don't know if they're going to come back more forward. What's Villa's situation like? We read in the papers a few days ago or something that they've got like funds to play with. The manager's been given 100 million, so that would indicate they have got money and they want to come back. They haven't got a decent striker there. That Samatta's absolute, using Sean Lawson's words, trousers. He's absolute trousers, that Samatta. The other kid, they've got a young kid who plays up front. He's decent, but Villa need a striker. But from what I've heard as well, again, is like unlike Jamal Lewis scenario where we've lowballed Norwich, but Jamal Lewis wants to come to us. I've heard Divock didn't want to know about this bid, so that's 17 million bid is a waste of time at this stage. But I know Wolves inquired about him as well a couple of weeks ago. So again, one to keep an eye on. But sorry to go back to the Leon and Depay situation. He's one we monitored as well last season. I like Depay. I think he's a class above Sarr, and I think he's a class below our boys.
So he's the type that you're sort of ideally
looking at. Yeah, so he's the type that I'll be looking at. He's the type, again, like Mo, would have a point to prove coming to UK again after his Man United nightmare. That's the kind of player. I'm not saying Depay now because I haven't watched him for a little while now, so I don't know what he's like after his injury. We know that injury can basically change players' careers. So I don't know what he's been playing like. I don't know if anyone in the chat's watched Depay recently, but he's the type of player, just the class in terms of levels. He's the level of player that I would look for, and he's coming down to his last year of contract.
Yeah,
I think, so
Ritz is just after saying that last year of the contract.
There you go. So he'd be 40 million as well. 30, 40 million would get him same price as Sarr probably. So something like that. I mean, I haven't heard his name this time round, but I've heard his name linked before. But with the Origi situation, it's clear we get anything around 30 million. Origi's gone, and that gives us some wedge to play with. Do you know what I mean? But it's a patient game. It's a patience game. We've got to wait for people to come in with bids. For example, Wolves may be bracing themselves for a bid for one of their stars, which will give them wedge, which will give them money to play with. Do you know what I mean? So,
and they've certainly been linked before. Yeah, they've certainly been linked with Origi before in the past as well. A few people saying about Jose Mauer that Juventus are looking at putting a bid in, and City are the red hot favourites. City, there's been constant links there with Man City before, but I agree. I think he's one that you'd be looking to. Right, well, there might not necessarily be a position at the moment in the midfield for him. There will be next season, because we know if Gini's going to run down his contract and Milner be another year older, you're getting in ahead of the curve and you're putting a player in that'll be up to speed by the time it comes to actually getting into the team. So it makes sense to look at that. But whether they would do that or not, we don't know. It's not something that FSG have tended to do in the past, certainly overspending on players. Before I move off Liverpool, there's a new centre-back link that's come out. Do you have any info on this one, Grizz?
Yeah, it's not come out yet. I'm about to bring it out now.
Well then, but before we go any further, if you haven't in the chat, we've 89 likes, we've nearly 300 people watching. Like and subscribe, because we've got a breaking news GrizzCan special coming up here now about a new target for Liverpool. So Grizz, take it away.
So I mean, I didn't even know the nationality about this player until Sean told me he's French. Yeah. But Evan Ndika from Frankfurt. That's the name I was given today. Apparently, young French player that plays in the Bundesliga for Frankfurt. Very highly thought of, one of their under 23 golden generation, so to speak.
Yeah.
They've got loads of them, haven't they? And he's in that category. Apparently, he can play left back as well.
Yeah.
So
play left back tonight.
Okay, well, that's the name. I don't know much about him, but that's the name I've got today. Over to you guys in terms of profiling as a player.
Shawnee, have you anything on Ndicka?
Yeah, he looks the business. He's one of this crop of French players that's coming through now. I don't sit around watching all mad football all day, but in the past 2 summers, I watched 2 tournaments, the under-23s tournament and the under-20s tournament in Poland. And France had a mental team, a mad team. They had Zagadou, they had Saliba, they had Ndicka, all in the back line. They had Guendouzi. They have players like Camavinga. He looks the business. And to be honest, well, I was reading earlier on in the summer, like obviously I was thinking he's in Frankfurt, he's not going to be there for that long. That I actually thought that PSG had already sold him up and signed him, but it's obviously not the case. And then I seen the likes of Arsenal being linked with him, and he's really good. Can play left back as well. He's versatile, brilliant on the ball, brilliant in the air, strong, like really quick, and one, like I said, like a pure FSG player, like one we could take and turn into an absolute superstar beside Van Dijk and alongside Gomez. One who could really push away.
I did tell Keith to do some homework.
I've done loads of homework on him. I have, Grizz. I can tell you right that he's Cameroonian born, but he's played at France underage at every level. Hasn't been capped for the national team yet. So he can play left full. He's 6'3", right? So he's a big guy. I'd seen him before then anyway. When Frankfurt were doing well last season, I was aware of him. He's 6'3", but he's really quick.
How much did they buy him for?
I don't know how much they paid for him. They got him from Auxerre, and I wouldn't imagine it was big money.
I think they're only looking for about 12 million for him.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. That's but Build came out and said that's what they get for him is 12 million.
So this makes sense then. But
it's in the profile of all the figures, as we said about Jamal Lewis and the left backs. Liverpool don't want to go over a certain threshold, and it seems to be the same for the centre backs. When I was looking at I was looking him up because Grizz told me about this one earlier, and we were just looking. Like I said, I'd seen him playing for Frankfurt. It was the last season they had a good run to the UEFA Cup, and he was a good player. But and I don't mean this in a bad way, right?
Robbie Richmond, that's a great show. Like that's exactly what he's like.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna take the legs out from underneath that one. I think he's like Mamadou Sakho, and bear with me on this.
He's like Mamadou Sakho without the ketamine.
Yeah,
it looks like
you know what?
He's in control of his legs. Like he knows what's going on.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Shawnee. He's big like Sakho. He's strong like Sakho, but he's also very quick. And Sakho was quick as well. You know, he was a centre back, left-sided centre back who was comfortable on the ball. But Sakho always looked like a nervous wreck. You know what I mean? It's like the ball was burning his feet and all that when he had it, and he didn't know what he was going to do. And Ndicka looks much more composed on the ball than Sakho did. But he's that sort of, strong, quick, good in the air. Like he does seem to have a lot of plus points. Do you know, I'm not going to pretend I've seen him playing 100 games for Frankfurt, but I've seen him play.
He played tonight, actually. He was playing tonight. He played left back tonight.
So that's a sign.
That's some good insight there.
Yeah, something that's good to know that he can play left back. And
at the moment.
Because as soon as Grizz said it to me earlier, I was thinking, Jesus Christ, that'd be a snip. That would be completely cutting out the middleman because this is the typical signing where you see him ending up at Dortmund, and you're like, and he just progresses nicely. He turns out to be a 23, 24-year-old who either goes to play for the top side in Europe or just makes the jump up to Bayern Munich.
You guys have got me really excited now because I wasn't given a price or anything, and so I didn't know what kind of price we're looking at, but since you guys have told me they're looking about 12 million.
Yeah, that's what Build reported.
All I know is an inquiry, so I'll keep an eye on it if it develops. So I'll tell him.
No, Build reported that the 12 million will be the price. That's all they'll get from him. There is interest from Liverpool and Arsenal looked at him in March, and then PSG were looking at him as well, and Spurs and Southampton. So there's a lot of teams that are looking at him. Now, he does fit the profile of what Liverpool and what FSG kind of like. You know, if they get a 20-year-old, for 12 million and cover them.
It's just mad. Like when you see City spending like 41 million on Ake, they mustn't do any scouting at all, because they should be looking at players like this Indica fella. This is the problem with, not to go on a rant about City, but this is what their problem has been. They've always just tried to go scattergun and go with a big name for a big price, whereas they could have brought him in for a quarter at Ake's price and developed them. You know what I mean? But they've no interest in doing that. So it's weird. If we pull, this would be a great one if we could pull it off. Like, this is one of there's so many of those French lads around at the moment. There's Zagadou, there's the two lads that's at Leipzig. And
3 of them.
Yeah.
He's Konate, Morkiel, and up on
he could be like the next. We could just get him now. If we could get him, it would completely, like, it'd be like buying Van Dijk from Celtic, so to speak, in a lesser scale.
My man Avi makes a brilliant point, quite funny point actually. Shout out to my man Avi. He says our scouts are from City, we nick them. So basically, they're making all, and City are making all these sort of the most obvious and expensive buys. But do you know the good thing about this though is, and it's definitely positive for me, and it should calm the fan base a bit down, is that we rewind the timeline 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was near enough doom and gloom, even though it fucking shouldn't have been, right?
Yeah.
But now these names that I've heard come out sort of from the left back, and boom, we go and make a bid for a left back. It's official, positive. Now I'm hearing centre backs. I've heard 3 or 4 names. One I'm going to try to do a bit more research on, because one's a crazy name. We'll save it for the next Tuesday show. It's a crazy name, but I'm going to do some research on it. But now I expect us to go and make a bid for a centre back. So we're active, and we're active in the areas that us fans thought we'd be active. Like, we wanted a cover for left back. Boom, we're active. We're trying things. We're making inquiries on players. I know that for a fact. We said, as soon as we sold Deggs, we said, fuck, we ain't relying on Matip, Gomez, Virgil. And we're not waiting for what's his name? Hoover and the other lad to step up. Yeah, I don't want to say his name even, because you know what I think about him, Keith. Yeah,
not a fan.
But again, we're trying to address it by these links, and it's brilliant the way we do it in terms of whatever. I'm assuming most clubs do it this way, but we seem to be brilliant at it, and our record has proven so that we get 3 or 4, and they're equally as good as each other. We don't have to sort of drop in quality in terms of the alternatives. So, for example, Ben White was mentioned. We know what Shawnee thinks about Ben White. In fact, I think same. I rate Ben White highly. You rate the Mandy chat, fairly decent. You think it'd be solid purchase. And today's link, Indica, you know what I mean? So the alternatives in terms of the group of centre-backs we're looking for are solid, and they wouldn't come in straight away and be sort of.
But there's also Kabak as well. There was another one, Grizz, and in around the same sort of price range. Rich Joe, I want to touch on that. Rich Joe up a comment, but Keith, centre-back, left-back hybrids won't be effective for us. Left-backs have to attack.
Rufus, did City sign poor Balake? And then have on the third, Rufus, he felt his muscles and he liked them. For fuck's sake.
Well, they surprise you with City with that signing defenders, you know what I mean? That they're crazy at it.
But I'm delighted, because if they could fucking pick a defender to save their name, we wouldn't be anywhere near them, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, it's great. Pep just scatterguns on them. But with the point about the left-back hybrids, look, I agree. A left-back in the Liverpool team, you don't want centre-backs playing out there. It's like Gomez playing at right full. But there's a difference, and I'm not saying this is different, but if you look at, let's say, Nordi Morkiel at Leipzig, who's a right-back centre-back, he's big, 6'2" or 6'3". He bombs up and down that right wing as well for them. So these French lads that are coming up are very, very quick, very athletic players as well. Now, I'm not saying he can go in and do the job, but it's not like you're putting Tyrone Mings, for example, he was a left-back, centre-back hybrid. I don't think he'd flourish in their team at all. So they're probably looking at a profile, right? If they want him that he could do the both positions, they're not going to look at a lumbering centre-back and think he can play left-back in their team. I mean, we all know that he can't do that. Sure, the guys like Michael Edwards and all that are going to know this as well. So I wouldn't be worried too much about that. to be honest with you. But it's an interesting one to watch. You know, there are players that will come out, as Grizz pointed out there. We've gone from having no links and being told there'll be no signings, and now they're starting to creep out. Now the names are starting to come, and they're the type of names that I like. I hate when you see links to Koulibaly, right? We're not going to sign Koulibaly. Why would we sign Koulibaly? We're being linked with the likes of Skriniar, great player, young player. Not going to sign a player like that. Liverpool they're going to look at these 10, 20 million pound players to supplement the squad and move them in. It's the Minaminos type of signing that we all spoke about as well. That hasn't hit the ground yet, but give it time and it can work.
We haven't moved away from what got us to the dance, and people need to realise that, yeah, we're at the top table now, and look, there's Nike money and all coming in, but we're still doing things the same way. Yep. Like, but the only thing that FSG are enabling now with this commercial side and all these big deals is that when we have to, we will do the business. So we didn't have any depth when we sold Coutinho. We didn't know anybody anything. We were able to sign Virgil and Alisson. Like, there's a process in place, and it does sound a little bit cliche to say, trust the process. Look, Gary Neville hit the nail on the head. If Liverpool are to remain sustainable and be successful over a period of time, the recruitment will have to remain perfect. And that's what it's been so far. And that it's a fair criticism to have. It's not really a criticism. Like, you can't turn around and say, yeah, well, they need to keep getting it right. Like, there's nothing to say that we won't. You know what I mean? Like, everything is in place here.
This chat's getting hot, man. Sorry, guys. Don't mind me.
But getting hot. It's like, yeah, you do strengthen from a position of strength, but everyone was losing their shit last season when we had a quiet window. Yeah. We just need the squad propped up a little bit, and there's no reason we can't go again.
That's it, and it is just propping the squad, as we've said. We're not looking to improve the first 11. You can improve your overall squad by making sensible moves. And if we go back to the likes of Jamal Lewis, or whether it's Tsimikas, or whether it's, you know, whoever, Leif Davis or whatever, a left-sided player, left-footed player to cover for Andrew Robertson immediately improves us. Not that Milner, there's nothing wrong with Milner at left back, but having a left-footed option there of a decent player will give us better balance in the squad, and that's what Liverpool have to do. The other teams, Man City, spending 41 million on Nathan Ake and still looking at maybe Koulibaly as well. You know,
that's the thing. See, that's the difference between us and City, right? So City bought Ake and they're linked to Koulibaly. When FSG are spending money on these players, they look at Jamal Lewis, say, right, 10 million. Okay, if he turns out to be really good, what can we do with him in 5 years? Okay, there's room to grow there. We'll make money. If he turns out to be average, what can we do with him in probably 18 months to 2 years? Oh yeah, we'll still make money on him. They look at everything like that. They're money men. The Sports Investment Group. Moneyball is not as enforced as it used to be, but they're still always thinking the long game. Now, this is why the Thiago thing is interesting, because it's outside the realm of what we normally do, but at the same time, it makes sense with the Genie situation. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
It does, and it's one that, while there's nothing happening at the moment, every so often it crops its head up. Grizz, I want to come back to you. Thiago, have you any heard anything new on Thiago? Are you losing faith in Thiago to Liverpool, or are you thinking it's just to sit back and watch this space?
My last message to Shawnee, he just needs to reiterate it. I'm not talking about Thiago. I've said until the Champions League is over, there's nothing to come out of it, and nothing will come out of it. So I'm sorry, I'm going to pass.
I think what came out today was fairly telling on Thiago.
Yeah,
like Paul Joyce, who came out about Sarr and came out about Lewis, said today, if, like, he didn't even say that we will exactly go. He said, if Genie leaves this summer, which there's no indication that they will, then Liverpool might go for Thiago. They may go for Thiago. It'll enable them to go for a Thiago, a midfielder. I don't know. I just, like Chris said, we're not going to know anything until the end of the Champions League anyway. Yeah. But I don't know. I can't see it happening personally. As much as I'd love it, I don't see it happening.
The more it goes on, it's not looking likely. If Genie's not moving on, to spend that money, well, it is a bargain for a player of Thiago's caliber. It's not a need that we have realistically. You know, we're well stacked in midfield.
It's good we record all these podcasts now.
Oh yeah. So you can come back and I like that, Grizz. I like that little sitting back there, like the Queen of Sheba there, the cat that got the cream. You come back and saying what you got right. I like
You
that.
know
I
what
like
CAN
that.
stands for, don't you?
What's that?
What does CAN stand for, Grizz?
It depends which language. It
Well,
could mean anything in
Depends who
fucking.
you ask.
if you refer to someone as a Khan, it's a king. Am I right?
There you
You're
go.
right.
I learned that from Mortal Kombat.
There you go. Picking the things up. Well, knowledge shared was on the Daytrippers as well, which is great.
Knowledge.
All about the knowledge. So that seems to be all there is. If there's anyone else to talk about from a Liverpool point of view, lads, links that you have heard.
Abby threw in a great one there. We're going to get on to him later.
Yeah, we are going to get on to him, so we'll hold fire on that. Abby, I won't tell you which one it is, but we are going to be talking about one of those two players in a few minutes. But I want to just quickly move on to some of the other transfer stuff that's happening out there in the world at the moment, lads. Have you heard much about the David Silva to Lazio talk?
I was just saying, Romano was saying that it's close.
Yeah, apparently his brother has been over there.
It makes kind of sense.
Are they back in the Champions League?
They got confirmed tonight, I think. I think they were confirmed tonight. They fell off a cliff, didn't they, with the COVID? They were second in Serie A. They were only a couple of points behind Juve. And they were doing the old Brendan Rodgers, one game a week. Brilliant. No distractions. And then COVID came back and they were playing 3 games a week and they absolutely fell to bits. They didn't have the squad. To keep her up, a few injuries and all that. So they're an interesting team. I think Immobile is the top 35 goals he got. He's the Golden Boot winner in Europe. So we have a decent squad there. And they still have air boy Luis Alberto. That weird dual blade chunk of change if they can sell him. But
he's done well actually there, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's doing great. He's linked with some 60-odd million pound moves now. But he looks like he's going to sign a new contract, which will scupper their sell on. But
and fair play to Lucas. They've got Lucas Leiva as well. Our boy Lucas as well.
Player of the year every year for them because
we're a fucking model to get them. I was thinking we won't get Napoli next year. We won't have a poxy away trip to Italy at some stage in the autumn. But we're a model to get them.
That's it. Awful shower. Good lads, but. It'll be a bit of a mad one, all right. But Silva's been linked there. Now, I thought he was going to Miami. Is that Beckham's team into Miami? I thought he was being linked with that. And before going back and going to, is it Las Palmas or Tenerife, one of those Canary teams. I think he's from the Canaries. And he was going to go back and play there. But looks like he's going to Lazio, a great player, Serie A. Yeah, why not put him in there? He can sort of go for another couple of years.
He's that good. He probably end up playing whole in midfield there or something. That's how good he is.
But that's what I mean. The slower paced league could be right up his street.
More tactical game, slower pace. Give Silva time on the ball. He'll ruin you still. So he'll do fine there.
It'll be an interesting one if it goes through. And Willian to Arsenal, has that been signed yet?
No.
It looks, it's a 3-year deal. I see that they're
3+1 option.
Yeah,
which is
£100,000 a week.
I was talking to some other mates today about that, and he's such an Arsenal type player in terms of when he's hot, he's really hot. But usually he's not hot and he's rubbish and he hides and he's quiet, and that's Arsenal for you. You bully Arsenal a bit and look what happens to Arsenal. You press Willian or you play tough against him and he doesn't want to know. But give him time, space, and when he's on his day, he looks brilliant. He's done well at Chelsea. He may do okay at Arsenal, but it's definitely not what Arsenal need right now. It's not. I can't see that being an Arteta signing per se. I mean, Arteta's trying to mold this into a young, energetic, pressing, high energy Arsenal team, which is just totally what not Willian is, to be honest with you. So from that aspect, it doesn't make sense. Financially, it doesn't make sense. They're paying him X amount and they're giving him a 3-year +1 deal. He's 31 or something, 32. Yeah. Good luck to him. Good luck to Arsenal. It just stinks of Arsenal, that one.
Yeah. It's a good point by Grizz there about not an Arteta signing. Seany, would you agree with that? Does this one stink of an A deal? Maybe a Brazilian, bringing in a Brazilian?
It does seem to be away from the sort of culture that Arteta is trying to create there at Arsenal at the moment. And look, it's bad. It's very, very bad press for Arsenal that just letting go 55 of their staff. Now, obviously, that's the owners. You wouldn't hold that against the Arsenal. I'd say that's something that the club have previous with morally. It's just that's a decision that's being made by Kroenke in fucking Tampa Bay or whatever he's residing, Los Angeles. Willian, he's been a great player in the Premier League for Chelsea, but up until COVID, he didn't feature. He hardly featured, and he looked like he was playing for a contract towards the back end of the Chelsea career. Chelsea were willing to let him go. Normally tells the story. I think Arsenal are getting roped in there. 3+1 is fucking. That's madness.
The madness, isn't it? That's the mad numbers that are coming out on that deal.
It is. A 1+1 deal for Willian probably would have been a good idea had he performed next year. I just think it's probably an area that where they don't really need somebody. It's probably money that they probably could have put aside and probably trying to got Coutinho on loan even for a year would even made more sense, you know.
Yeah.
But if Arsenal are trying to get back into the Champions League top 4, I don't think they're going the right way about it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a weird strategy that they're going for because they're going to go all out to tie Aubameyang down. I don't think he signed a new deal yet, but he's going to be if they can get him to sign, it's going to be on crazy money. And they see the nonsense they have with Ozil at the moment, where they've given him a king's ransom. Don't play him. It's just an absolutely toxic one. And Kev O'Sullivan throws in there. Maitland-Niles is told he can leave Arsenal tonight, so they're going to get rid of some of their younger utility players, and they're going to bring in older. I'm not saying Maitland-Niles is of the quality maybe that they do need, but you know they're going to replace him with the likes of a Willian. It doesn't make much financial sense. It's a bit of a weird one, but sure, we'll leave them to it. Another couple I wanted to talk about was Everton. Good old Everton are linked with Alan from Napoli. Now this one makes all the sense in the world, because he is an Ancelotti type player, and if they can get him into that midfield, that can improve on the shite that they have in there already. Grizz, what have you heard anything on that one, or do you like the idea of that? Not from our point of view, but from Everton's.
Unfortunately, I like that one, and that would make good sense for Everton. They literally haven't, and we discussed this in one of the preview shows for the Everton-Liverpool post-COVID, but I don't think they've got a holding midfielder or anyone who's got any physical presence. I know they got Tom Davis, but he's totally not what I've just described. Yeah. I don't think they've got anyone who's got the physical capability or the engine that to sort of enforce the game Ancelotti usually likes playing. And Ancelotti, usually likes playing a very high pressing game. And he likes his midfielders to be very much in your face type. And this kid is that. He's an absolute terrier. He roughed us up, man. Let's not get it twisted. When he played against us, he terrorized our midfielders. I know we had an off day, but but he was all over us like a rash. He's what Arsenal think Torres is. He's the real deal, man. I wanted him
very good.
A couple of years ago.
Very good.
While when Fabinho sort of wasn't at our club and we were looking for a DM, I was hoping we'd go and get Alan. He's that good. He's got the tenacity. He's a leader. He's everything what Everton haven't got. And if they pull that one off, fair play to them.
I think it'll set a new bar for Everton as well, because I think that's the Ilka player that they need to be shopping for if they really want to move forward, because they've spent fucking an abhorrent amount of money on absolute shite in the last couple of years. Like, that recruitment has been awful. But if they could convince someone like this is the Paula Ancelotti. Like, this is the difference having a coach like Ancelotti will make. It does open up doors to get players like Alan in. And I think if they could build around him and hold on to Richarlison for another year, like, they could at least have a crack and get themselves back into the Europa League spots with a decent bit of recruitment. And I think Alan would be a great start.
I can't remember someone who just said just before. I know you got Kevin O'Sullivan's comment, but someone said compared him to Gattuso. Yeah. He's got everything what Gattuso had, but this guy can play as well.
Yeah, he's a good player, and the figure being mentioned is about 25 million, which coincidentally is the figure they were looking at for Højbjerg. So it looks like they have a need in there, and that's the type of player they want to get. Højbjerg, Alan, good players. They bought Yaman Gabaman in last summer to play in the sort of holding midfield, and he took a couple of scalding bad injuries. That poor fucker, so he never really got going. But look, it's one of them. They're on the verge of either getting themselves, as Shawnee said, back into them Europa League places or falling off a cliff. And I think they need to get this summer. I know they love winning the transfer window, but they really do need to pull out all the aces now, because they've a squad there that they've spent so much money on and so much wages that they're in trouble if they don't get it right. Now, Alan is a good signing if they can get that one over the line, but don't be surprised if they're going in and bidding for bleeding Adam Lallana off Brighton before the start of the season, because they're running out of options. You never know with Everton. Another one linked as well. I saw Eric Garcia being linked from Man City to Barcelona, which is a bit of I suppose in some ways it's a surprise, in other ways it's not. Sean, you'll come to you. These Barcelona starlets that come out of La Masia and move out when they're 16, 17 always tend to get the itch to go back, don't they?
Yeah.
No matter who
they are. Yeah. It's typical. Like, look, he's living in Manchester. He's not gonna want to stay around there. Like, he's gonna get out there. He actually, I thought he looked decent.
Yeah, he did.
Very decent
when he came back from the lockdown. But there you go. Like, I rate Pep as a manager. I really do. But absolutely no interest in coaching that young fella into being a player who could be a regular starter for Man City. And it just goes to show. And they want 30 million euros for him, don't they? So I don't know. He'll probably end up somewhere like Sevilla if they end up getting rid of Diego Carlos or someone like that. Yeah, he probably end up somewhere like there.
But see, apparently he said that he wants Barca. He only wants Barca, and if City don't do a deal, he'll go for free next summer because he's only got a year left on his contract.
No, he's gone. Pep's admitted today. This has got the makings of another PK to Barca from Man United. I think this guy's good. I really do. I think he's one of the. I think he's after Laporte. He's, in my opinion, he's the best centre back at City. That's how highly I rate him from what I've seen of him, and absolutely brilliant that he's leaving them. Absolutely brilliant. Good riddance. He's going to Barcelona, and good luck to the kid, man. I mean, who wants to be at City? That's the problem. You see, that's the thing. They're a nothing club. It's, who are they? They've got all these. They've won all these titles and successes, but no one. At the end of the day, no one cares about them. And that's it. He doesn't care about them. They might have nurtured him, given him game time. The moment Barcelona,
it was him who went off injured against us. Was that against? Was that against us or Arsenal?
No, was it Arsenal? It looked like he was bleeding.
He got cleaned out. And he didn't even give him a look, like, you know what I mean?
He just went by on the stretcher and he didn't even look down. It's an excellent point. It's an excellent point. He just doesn't seem to want to coach some of the talent that he has and looks for a quick fix. And as Chris Brack puts in the chat there, you can't blame Garcia. Finally gets his chance. Then City sign Ake and looking for another centre-back. Now, I know they have got holes at centre-back. So if he's patient there, he might look and say, right, Laporte, Ake and Koulibaly, they're all left-sided. They three of them, they're all left-footed centre-backs. So
absolutely,
he could.
But this is the thing. But this is the thing with Pep, and he's mad, isn't he? He does what no one else thinks about. So I was discussing this as well. 3 centre-backs, 3 left-sided centre-backs, 3 centre-backs that have never played on the right side. Now, unless this is an absolute ingenious plan from Pep, it doesn't make any sense. There doesn't seem to be any thinking or strategy, long-term strategy behind this. It's just bring by, and then we'll just who cares about the centre back? I'll make sure the rest of the team's sparkling with footballers and just keep the ball, and we won't have to defend. I mean, that's what it looks like from the outset.
And this isn't a new thing with Pep and centre backs. I remember when he was at Barcelona and he brought in Chigrinsky from, I think it was Shakhtar Donetsk, or it could have been Dynamo Kiev. And he spent huge money. Could have been like 20 million or something at the time. And just he played 1 or 2 games and just looked so out of his depth. No way could he play the Barcelona style.
He has that luxury. I see. He's not under pressure to make signings that youth players work, because they have no real value at City unless they're providing on the pitch. Like, that's the only way they look at it. Like, Pep probably looks at it as 11 and then the 4 or 5 that he brings off the bench. If you're not doing that by him, he's not even going to have a look at you. He's in no way entitled to say, oh yeah, look, there's Eric Garcia. Do you know what? Hold fire. He's been brilliant since Project Restart. Maybe we'll give him a run next year beside Laporte. Maybe they can develop some sort of no, just throw money at it as per usual. Like Grizz said, like trying to reinvent the wheel. Like, he's not going to play 3 left-sided centre-backs in any formation next year. So I don't get him. I really don't get it. And like you said, Keith, his track record of buying defenders is deplorable, absolutely deplorable.
It really is. Like,
and when they could literally afford any centre back or defender in the world, and they went to buy Maguire last year as well, which would also is very telling.
And that was their only one. You know, it was Maguire or nobody. Like, they couldn't look at any other centre-back to fill a gaping hole they had. As Megan McCallion's at the point in the chat there, John Stone's leaving City as well. Otamendi could be leaving City. You know, there's an overhaul needed of their defence. I just happy days, because as we've all said there, he can't build a defence for love nor money. You know, it's an absolute blind spot that he seems to have, and it's the glaring weakness that Man City have at the moment. So long may that continue.
Just a quick one. I know we cater for all on this show, and Avo's a very good listener of us, so we've got to answer his question. He said, "What does Grizz think about the cricket today? I thought Pakistan was sensational today, Avo. And let's hope they can carry on that and beat England."
Here. Big cricket community here on the Daytrippers. We do love a bit of the old cricket. And Grizz is our go-to guy for that sort of stuff. So it's good to get a crossover.
I thought Pakistan's fast bowling was outstanding today, to be honest.
There you go. Yeah, see, Avo, I tell you, these guys, we cater for everything, mate.
Was there much swing on the pitch, or was it more about the pace?
We are cricket men, yeah. It was a underhanded left drag with a bit of top spin on it. It was lovely. It was great to watch.
That's what you love to see. You love to see the old a bit of give on the crease and all that. Look, this is what we're.
All I have to do is mention the cricket. Look at the lads coming out of terminology.
You've been waiting on this. We've been waiting. We could only get the cricket pod off the ground for a while now.
To be honest with you, it's subconscious listening to Sky Sports when you listen to the 10 minutes of football and then the 40 minutes of cricket a day. It's just on in the background, you know.
I love that shout, the cricket pod. We've got to bring out the cricket pod.
Tell you, that's next on the list. So that's. Just want to talk about Alexis to Inter, or is there any point in talking about that one? It's done. It gets a big, huge chunk of bleeding wages off.
It's the stat that came out that Alexis Sanchez cost Manchester United 28 grand per touch.
That is outrageous.
It's the worst. It's the worst bit of business in Premier League history.
It's got to be.
It has to be. And they'll say they didn't pay transfer fee wise, they got him cheap or whatever, and it was a Mkhitaryan going the other way.
Completely wrecked the structure of the club as well. Like it's done. There's damage even after he's gone. Like, you know what I mean?
And there will be for years to come, especially the way they're. Look, Jadon Sancho could be a great player for them when he goes there, but he's getting put on a huge wage already, supposedly, and that's all historical from the shit money they start throwing out to Sanchez that's now gone to De Gea and Pogba. You know, it's just opened up a bleeding can of worms for them. It's a shame. I heard the rumour they had to pay top dollar but to get him off the wage bill, so that's good. You know, that's good. We won't dwell too much on them, but they're brutal. A little section we're going to look at now going forward. We just thought, look, we can talk about transfers, and there may be days when there's not much happening in the rumour mill. So we're going to look at a player that we all think could be one to watch for the future. Now, it might be a wonder kid, which it is in this instance. It might be a player that's maybe in his 20s, but has slipped under the radar. And we're just going to have a little chat about them and see what teams they could talk about transfers, where you could see them fitting in and things like that. So, Seany, you've suggested our first player that we're going to talk about for this week. Do you want to start us off there?
Yeah, it's Cherki from Lyon. 16 years of age, and one player who I seen him playing in the French Cup, because I work with a couple of French lads, a couple of lads who are Lyon fans and PSG fans, and when Fekir was gone, they were like, nah, Cherki is coming through. We have Cherki there. They're even pawning off a wire because they know Cherki is the real deal. And what's Olas come out to say that he's the best talent they've ever had at Lyon. Above,
and they've had some talent.
They've had some talent.
He's above Benzema, above Ben Arfa, above all of these players who were top draw. He's 16, and he just looks like the absolute business. Like another one of these French kids coming through. Algerian-born French lad as well. Who, let's be honest, if that's on your passport or in your DNA, you have a decent bloodline to follow, because it's like Zidane, even Fekir going along. Ben Arfa was another one. He looks like a supreme talent, like really, really good footballer. And there's already talks that Real Madrid are trying to snap him up already, and he's only 16. So, one definitely worth keeping an eye on if you haven't seen anything of.
Grizz, have you seen much of Cherki?
Normally, I'm very sharp with talent, especially in France and Lyon, but I haven't check this guy out, but I trust Seany, and if they say he's bigger talent than Hossam, or however you say his name, because for me, that kid is the best young central midfielder in the world. And if these mans are saying that, I'm using mans again, innit? Matt's going to be on my case in the WhatsApp. But if these mans are saying that this kid is the best, most talented out of all of them, wow.
Yeah, he's magic. Like, he looks like he's one of them players that looks like he's completely moldable. Like, his understanding of the game, he could end up being a number 8. He could end up being a number 10. He could end up being a centre forward. He could end up being a wide player, like a Hazard.
Yeah,
like
he's still growing, isn't he? He's not
so good. He's so skillful, and you can just say he's one of them players who he knows what he's doing with the ball before he's even gotten. He's just taking players out of the game. He knows where the goal is. He's one to definitely keep an eye out on. Look, and even if throw Lyon on, because they're going to start using them now, because there's going to be a few outgoings, but just have a look at him. He's magic. Like some of the stuff he's doing with the football. Look, Kieran Thorne there, that is a superb show. He's like a hybrid of Zidane and Del Piero. That's how he just glides with the ball. It's so effortless for him. He looks incredible. I'm actually going to follow his journey now, because there's already talk, like my missus is Spanish, so there's a program that does be on, and I call El Chiringuito, and the Real Madrid are hung up on that kid Camavinga now at the moment from Rennes. Like they're hung up on him, and then they're saying they're going to get him, and then Zidane has personally requested this Cherki lad before he goes anywhere else. Like, and I'm just saying, like, City and all are going to splurge 50-60 million on whoever, cut out the middleman and do whatever it takes to get this kid out, because he just looks like he's going to be ridiculous.
It's funny you mentioned that, because Zidane, I think, is going to be the deciding factor in this move, because I think Zidane is his idol, as a lot of these, North African descented French players. He is the pinnacle.
I think he's gone on record saying that Fekir is actually his idol. Like, he took Fekir's jersey at Lyon, 18. Go. So the original
it's a custard pie for me there, Seany.
No, but like, obviously Zidane being
Zidane's the godfather, man. Zidane,
Algerian,
like.
He's if you're at Lyon, Fekir is going to be the one you're looking up to. Is coming
of course,
but like that, I'm not the point in the, but obviously, like you said, end game. If Zidane is still manager at Real Madrid, you know what I mean? Like, Algerian-born Frenchman wants you to come and play for him. You're gonna go and play for him. You know what I mean?
Simple.
Yeah, it's simple as that.
One to keep an eye on, basically.
Yeah,
that's exactly what the title says.
But to be honest with you, I don't think it's going to be long before he blows up. To be honest, he might play tomorrow night against Juventus in the Champions League. He could play. He'd definitely be on the bench. Next year, in the year that 17, 18, everyone is going to be all over him. Like, this isn't me being ahead of the curve. I actually thought that this was pretty well known, how special that this kid was going to be. Look, I think he scored a hat-trick on his debut for Lyon.
He's only played something like 12 games. I have it wrote down, 12 games, and he scored 3 goals, and he were in the cup. Yeah. But that doesn't tell. You know, you might look at them figures and say, what's he doing? The talk is all coming out. It's all, the hype around this kid is going around. I thought he'd played much more than that, because I've heard the name going back a good while, and I thought he was much more established. And when I went and checked it, that he doesn't have that many games.
Is in the mold of what a talent he was, Ben Arfa.
He is in the mold of Ben Arfa. Yeah, he's the one that he compared him to the most.
Just complete flair, Grizz. Everything is flair and intelligence. Like, he played. See, when I was working in the office, I'd be just sitting there, and I used to put the UEFA Youth League games on. And Man City were in Leon's group this year, and he took the piss. He was a complete level above everyone else on the pitch. Like, they couldn't get near him. Could not get near him.
Cool.
Yeah, it's definitely it's the sort of player that everyone should be keeping an eye on going forward. Kylian Mbappe came out and said he's the one to watch, you know, and Mbappe.
Yeah, that's right as well. Yeah,
previous
to that. Yeah, and generational talent is thrown around like it's nothing these days in terms of football. I think there's one generational talent around at the moment, that would be Mbappe. There's a case to be made for Trent. Liverpool boys aside, he's redefining what it is to be a right back. But Cherki does look like he could be one to really kick on. And hopefully, like, he doesn't follow what happens with the likes of Ben Arfa. Like, Ben Arfa was at Lyon and it was crazy.
Talent.
It was
insane talent.
Hopefully he can break the duck and really kick on, because look, as football fans, you want to see players light the game up like this. Since Ronaldinho retired, there hasn't been many to do it. Obviously, Messi has given us many great moments in the Champions League, and Neymar is another one who's great to watch. And he's not everyone's cup of tea, but this kid is electric. Like, he really, like, I can't wait to see what happens to him.
So Promo was asking what's the player's name we're talking about. It's Rayan Cherki off Lyon, and he really is one to watch. So this is just something, like we said, that we're going to, on the transfer shows, we'll just throw in a little player that one of us will select, and we'll just have a little chat about to watch that could be linked with moves or might be further down the line, you know, in a year or two. But we thought to start off, no one better than Cherki to start off with in that sense. So before we go, I just want to thank everyone in the chat. We had a lot of viewers in tonight. I don't know what our like count ended up on, 146. So thanks very much. But there's still 140 is then that didn't like us. So get liking. I just want to mention about the predictor race game that we have going at the moment, that anyone that hasn't done it, Gav put out a video on the YouTube channel just explaining what it is. It's 50 predictions, 50 questions that you predict the answer to. You email your answers into predictor.ace@gmail.com, and you'll be going into the draw then for the rest of the season. There'll be prizes to give out. You can enter, it's free. Obviously everything we do is free, so you can enter as many times, or to get the family to enter, you know, spread the word. All we'll ask is that, you know, if you're watching the channel, give us a like, give us a subscribe, hit the bell icon and all that stuff, and you could be in with a chance of winning some prizes throughout the season, because we're very generous like that. So yeah, if you haven't done it yet, look, get on it and give it a go. It's a bit of crack at the end of the day. We'll be talking about it as the season goes on, giving little updates on how people's predictions may be going and who could be leading the chase and who might be on the bottom. I know Grizz is a man of he doesn't like to brag when he's doing well in the Daytrippers fantasy league. He made a late charge at the end, Grizz, didn't you, in the fantasy premier?
Yeah, I had a disastrous start, but you know, I promised the lads I'm going to finish in the top 4. Ended up finishing 3rd. Next season is my season, as they say.
There you go. Shawnee, what do you make of that? Carry on from Grizz.
I think he was unlucky. I think Grizz made the same mistake I did this year, going heavy on Liverpool defence to start, and we were fucking couldn't keep a clean sheet to save our life, I think. So yeah, I'm coming back from my crown as well next year as well. But
you've had a very serious injury this season, so you're going to be fully fit next season.
But to be fair, out of the group, Andy won.
Fair, yeah.
Monetary gain. I'm the only one who made money this year.
Yeah, so who's the real winner?
Because Matt was stupid enough to make a bet after 4 weeks that he was going to beat me, and I knew he'd be sleeping at the wheel at some stage, and I just steamrolled him. So, who's the real winner?
There you go. There you go. There's only one real winner. So look, we'll call that a night then, lads. Thanks for joining me, Shawnee Lawson. Thanks very much.
Cheers, pal. Thanks for having me on.
As always, good stuff. And Grizz, the transfer man, thank you very much for coming on and giving us your insight and your knowledge onto all things transfers. And everyone in the chat, it was kicking tonight. It was great. Loads of debate, loads of names. Thanks for your contribution. We've been the Daytrippers. This has been the Transfer Agenda Show. I've been your host, Keith Plunkett, and I bid you all good night.